everyone, and welcome back to Pep's Pinnacle MMA Reviews, where I give my personal insights, predictions, and analysis on up-and-coming UFC events and MMA in general. So this video is going to be a review of the UFC 312 pay-per-view that took place last week, Saturday, I guess actually Sunday night, the 9th of February. So it was the main event which I made my prediction on, which compiled Dricus du Plessis versus Sean Strickland. It was their rematch, and I predicted that Dricus du Plessis would win unanimous decision, maybe even I actually think I predicted a round 4 submission or takedown or TKO, but as we all know now, it ended in a unanimous decision for Dricus. So my prediction was correct, and I had no wavering doubts that Dricus wouldn't win. I knew he would win because I initially saw no outs for Sean Strickland to win the match. Everything that he could have changed wouldn't have helped him. I initially thought that he would come into the second fight with the same game plan, not really adapting to that. Any changes that he might have made against the Paul Acosta fight, which was his most recent fight. So, and I guess I was correct in that assumption because against Dricus du Plessis, he really didn't offer any changes in his style. He was fighting mostly defensive with his jabs and teeps. And every time Dricus sort of advanced later, a combo attack, Sean just went into defense mode and didn't really apply pressure. He did fire back with his jabs, but he wasn't firing enough to make it seem as if he was leading the exchanges. So let's just break down the rounds. So round 1, also just to clarify that Mark Goddard was the referee for this match. Now I like Mark really. Personally, I really like him because he's refed most of Dricus's fights. He ref the first match between Sean Strickland and Dricus du Plessis. He also refed the match between Dricus du Plessis and Israel Adesanya. So he's very capable. He's very hardworking, and I really do enjoy when he gets the opportunity to ref a match. So let's just take a look at round 1. Now, Dricus really utilized the front kick to the body to keep Strickland back. And, even Strickland was blocking a pair of Dricus du Plessis' high kicks, but at the end of the day, Dricus du Plessis was closing the distance, throwing a lot of straight punches, and he was landing a lot of combos. He landed quite a good leg kick, and that kind of rattled Sean a bit. But Sean Strickland on the most part in round 1 was just firing off jabs on the edge, but then Dricus du Plessis fired back with a beautiful spinning kick to the body. And both fighters were quite busy in the ring. It was a very technical fight. There wasn't many highlights. Du Plessis was landing very nice, tricky high kicks that really caught Sean off guard. And Sean was just drabbing down the middle, trying to jab his way. But Dricus was very good with his defense. He didn't really let any attacks get through. And definitely Dricus du Plessis, with the amount of attacks he was throwing it at very different angles. All of it in combination really did land him the points with this. He did enough to win round 1 very clearly. I scored it a 10-9 for Dricus. And yeah, Dricus definitely won round 1. I think Sean could have maybe taken round 1 if he threw more, maybe did some more work, but he was mainly just firing off the back foot and keeping his defense. Then in round 2, Dricus du Plessis was just chipping away with his leg kicks to the body, low kicks, high kicks. It is exactly what I predicted, He's coming in with those beautiful leg kicks. I was initially thinking, okay, yeah, we're going to see some takedowns, but no takedowns apparently from Dricus. He kept it on the feet. Also, Dricus du Plessis was very good with his moving forward ventures. Sean was also keeping Dricus on the back foot, but whenever Sean advanced, Dricus just held his ground and engaged at the critical moments to take back that space. So at the critical moments, he took back the space, but then when the momentum was not as critical, he moved back and let Sean take some of the space, which I thought was quite a good game plan. And that was also arranged by Mornay's coach, who really instructed Dricus in the ring on how to take that space and control it. So just to clarify, also in round two, Sean did land a couple good jabs to Dricus. And also Dricus got through and landed a strike on Strickland's nose, but it did start to bleed, but it wasn't that dangerous yet. It was just a normal strike to the nose that might have cut it open a bit. But Sean Strickland's no stranger to eating punches, and he eats them like cereal. So he has a very, very strong jaw. Sean Strickland also landed a nice combo on Dricus, but Dricus' just defense was just amazing. He was defending very, very good. Dricus landed towards the end, the second half of round two. Dricus landed a nice high kick, and that really set the tone coming into round three. So I had round two also to Dricus 10-9, and also Dricus is just keeping the momentum. He's keeping the points in his favor because he's doing more, throwing more. He's landing more combinations. He's keeping Strickland busy defending while not leaving many openings. And whenever Sean does find an opening and engages, Dricus just blocks and just steps back and then blitzes when he gets the opportunity to. So heading into round three, Dricus mixed up his punches nicely, got some right hands through. He was just throwing a lot. He really threw a lot, and he was overcoming Strickland's, let's say, attempts to stay methodical and precise. And I do see that into the fight in round three, Strickland landed some nice body shots at Dricus, but it wasn't at all damaging. And some of the jabs that Strickland landed, like to break Dricus' defense, Dricus just was out of reach just at the right time, and he was just blocking a lot of Sean's jabs. Dricus landed many more body kicks, and they just had a couple more exchanges in round three. And it was very interesting to see how Strickland was adapting to the punches, because he wasn't. He was just eating them, but it looked like it wasn't dealing damage. It wasn't paying dividends. But we see that in the round 4 and 5 it was, because, well, we'll discuss that later. But so in round 3, Strickland was just eating the jabs and the leg kicks, and we saw that it wasn't really, like, he didn't show the pain and the dividends yet, but it would end up paying quite a few points in Dricus' favor. Now, towards the end of round 3, they got into a nice couple exchanges. Triple C won them. He landed a very nice spinning elbow that really rocked Sean. And I thought that would be the one that Sean couldn't really recover from, but he recovered. It looked like it was nothing to him. So, respect for Sean for just taking that spinning elbow, because elbows really, really hurt. And Dricus did land a takedown towards the end, last, I would say, 20 seconds of round 3. Dricus landed a takedown, which was the first and only takedown he landed. He did successfully take down Strickland, but Strickland just stood up so quickly, and the last 10 seconds, approached, and then the round ended. So that were to be the only takedown Dricus Duplessis landed on Sean. So I was incredibly surprised that it took him this long to land a takedown, but as he said at the end of the fight interview with Daniel Cormier on the mic, that he was looking for the opportunities for the takedown and he couldn't really see them, and then he had to force one because it was in his sights, and he did land that takedown, but for most part he kept it on the stand-up fight like Sean wanted. But Dricus Duplessis really showed the fact to everyone that he's not just a good wrestler, kickboxer, he's also a brawler that can brawl for a full 5 rounds. And we did see his cardio keep up. So he is a man of his cardio. He's not going to get tired quickly. Same for Sean. So ending round 3 and coming into round 4, the Dricus du Plessis did land some good jabs, switching stances from orthodox to southpaw, really following some good combinations from odd angles, really trying to intercept Sean and catch him off guard. Strickland did land a nice couple jabs, a right hand, but Dricus blocked it very easily. And then I think this was the turning point in the fight that really spelled doom for Sean, and was where Dricus du Plessis landed a really good right hand that really damaged Sean's nose. It was a clean break, and when that landed, Sean just immediately tried to reset it in the match, but Dricus wouldn't let him get that opportunity. So Dricus, like a shark in the water, smelt the blood and he immediately advanced. It was kind of reckless with his advancing. He saw Sean, and I could think he felt his nose give way underneath his hand. So he smelt the blood and he really, like a shark, he advanced, and he was kind of reckless with his advancement. He was just throwing and blitzing, trying to just get that knockdown because he saw Sean was really hurt by this nose attack, and he was kind of lost his composure and acting on survival instinct. But Sean managed to just run away quick enough. He really managed to run away quick enough and escape the flurry and onslaught from Dricus attacks. But that was definitely the turning point in the fight. The constant pressure that Dricus put in round 3, 2, 1, and then again, in round 4. And with this very, very critical nose break for Sean, it really it's really going to affect round 5 if Sean doesn't get that nose sorted by a doctor, or maybe even fix it himself. So round 4, definitely I had it for Dricus. So I had a 10-9 for Dricus still. Maybe you can even give an assumption that Dricus actually scored it that you can score it at 10-8 for Dricus. With just the significant damage that Dricus laid on Sean, but for the most part, I kept it at 10-9. So far, Dricus was winning all 4 rounds on the scorecards. So as we enter into round 5, and even during the break between round 4 and 5, Strickland actually set his nose himself, which was very surprising. It shows the grit and the tough of the manner of Sean in which he set his own nose. I don't think many fighters can, on the moment, do that. It just pays attention to the fact that Sean Strickland is what he says he is. He is always up for that tough fight, and it just went to show that it was a very, very good fight. And as we approach round 5, Sean Strickland was the doctor. He did a good job of mending his nose, and the blood really stopped, so he could see properly. I think he could still breathe a bit. Maybe he was breathing through his mouth, but on the most part, he looked okay. And towards the end of round 4, Dricus he was breathing heavily. He was quite tired. And then when round 5 began, it looked like his gas tank just reset. It looked like he was full of stamina now. So his stamina level is very impressive. Dricus, it's almost on the level of Marab, the Vishali, but Marab's gas tank is just infinite. There's no one like him that has as much stamina like Marab. He is superhuman. But back to round 5. Dricus du Plessis did land a nice right to the body, and he also landed a nice leg kick to the head with Sean with a quick combo. And also he did miss a spinning kick, but he did lunge forward later and wildly threw some punches, and it worked. It opened up that cut on Sean's nose again. It was bleeding again, and Sean was having a lot of trouble sort of countering Dricus's onslaught. He was landing some jabs on his own, but he couldn't really he couldn't at all time Dricus's his attacks, because Dricus was attacking at such odd angles, and his leg kicks were definitely now paying dividends, because we could see the slowness sort of staggering of Sean. Now, Dricus du Plessis did counter some of Sean's attacks. Then he landed also a very nice, tricky high kick, and then Sean responded with a left hook, and then Dricus sent another quick right at Sean, and Strickland tried to swing back, but he missed with a counter punch, and then sort of round 5 ended. So it looked, if you look at the whole fight, it looked like Sean Strickland never really went into second gear. He always stayed in first gear, very defensive, didn't really engage a lot. I think because Sean Strickland likes to see the opening and he attacks, but because Dricus was attacking so much, he was putting so much attacks in at different odds, angles, and different combinations that Sean was overwhelmed and he couldn't really get to attack in because he was so busy defending. And that's why all the rounds went to Dricus, because he was doing more, landing more, doing more damage. And Sean was just focused on defense and he couldn't really get going. He couldn't get his second gear on, whereas Dricus was already in fourth gear by round 5. He was really, really impressive in his stamina and also in his combinations that we saw. So just a recap of the fight in general. Dricus did show incredible striking. Now the whole world has no question to the fact that Dricus can fight for 5 rounds, constant brawling and striking like a boxer. We saw in the previous Israel Adesanya fight against Dricus that he was implementing a lot of takedowns. And we initially thought, okay, Dricus is very good at wrestling, kicking, but he is very sloppy at it. His awkward styles put him as a very underestimated fighter. But now, after this rematch against Sean at UFC 312, we see that Dricus, he looks way more polished. His fighting, his kicking, and his striking is way polished. His leg kicks are beautiful, is insane. Maybe not on the level of Israel Adesanya and Alex Pereira. I think not even in conversation between their kickboxing on a whole other level. But Dricus is getting there. He's getting there. He looked like he improved. I've never seen anyone improve as much as Dricus. I knew for a fact he was going to win because I couldn't see any ways for Sean to really adapt his style towards Dricus, because Dricus was everything Dricus did. I have to give credit to his coach Mornay. He really did have a very solid game plan, and it really did pay dividends in the fact that that Dricus won all 5 rounds by unanimous decision. And that is really the recap of UFC 312. And just as a assumption to who Dricus is going to fight in the future, what is his path forward? He's stated, well, he did call out Alex Pereira on the mic after UFC 312. And I think that is very, very impressive to call out Alex, because like nobody does that. Maybe Magomed, but no one sane does that. Let me iterate, no one sane calls out Alex. So, but we all know that Hamzat is next. Dricus even reiterated and stated at the post-fight press conference that Hamzat is next. He's getting the title shot next. So that's going to be a very interesting fight for Dricus, fighting Hamzat, because Hamzat is fighting out from Dagestan, Russia. And if we just have to reminisce about his last fight against Robert Whittaker, how that fight went, first round submission, 19 seconds left. The thing about Hamzat is he takes a takedown from far away. He can take it from 15 feet and he just goes. He slides and he can take you down from such a far away. And once he gets that takedown, it's very hard to shake him off. He's like a sloth. He's clinging to a tree. And Dricus's wrestling is no way on the same tier as Hamzat. Hamzat is a specialist when it comes to his wrestling. I do believe that even Habib, the GOAT, the Eagle, the Magomedov, couldn't even light a candle to Hamzat Chimaev's wrestling. It's that good. Just for your own benefit, rewatch the match between Hamzat Chimaev and Robert Whittaker to see just how spectacular Hamzat's wrestling is. So, but the one critique I do have about Hamzat is that when he does get, if the opponent doesn't allow him to have any takedowns, it's going to be a very interesting round 2, 3, and 4, and 5 after round 1, because even with that Kamaru Usman fight that Hamzat previously fought, he looks gassed out or tired after round 1. He puts his all into round 1 and then he's stamina drained. So if Dricus can initially survive round 1, survive the wrestling, and just keep the fight on its feet, he can easily win against Hamzat. Because Dricus's cardio is 20 times better than Hamzat's when it comes to prolonged fights, because Hamzat is undefeated in the UFC, which is there's a very good thing to boast about. But you haven't either fought 5 rounds yet, so Hamzat has yet to fight 5 rounds in the UFC, so we don't even know if he can go that distance. But we've seen Dricus definitely go the distance 5 rounds. Dricus has insane stamina. But the initial question is to ask, is Dricus' wrestling good enough to defeat Hamzat Chimaev? And is it good enough to withstand the onslaught of Chimaev's wrestling in round one? Because if he can get through that initial onslaught in round one, he does have some chances to defeat Hamzat in the later rounds. But Dricus did say on the mic that it's just going to be a wrestling game between him and Hamzat, and he welcomes a wrestling game, and he's going to defeat him at Hamzat's own game, which is wrestling, which I find to be very, very brass of Dricus to say. Also, that might be a bit of overconfidence from Dricus there, but I was thinking that too. But if we just look at what he did to Sean just now, there can be no doubt that Dricus is definitely the middleweight champion of the world. And once he takes over or cements his reign in the division of middleweight, because right now, once he defeats Hamzat, he's going to be lapping the division. He's fought everyone there is to fight. There is some contention towards Imavov, who just defeated Ijo Adesanya with a nice knockout. He does have maybe some rights to fight Dricus for the title shot, but maybe not yet. Maybe another couple matches, and then maybe he can be a future prospect. Maybe even Michael Venom Page, but he still has a lot of work to do. Shara, if he didn't lose to Michael Venom Page, I would really like to see him against Dricus. I still think that fight was a robbery, but still respect to Michael. So Shara, I don't think he's ever gonna get the title shot, not in the distant future, but if he works hard and keeps that winning streak going, even though he's not undefeated anymore, he may can get a title shot in the future. So that is it for the recap for UFC 312. And the next recap I will make would be on the UFC Fight Night, which is also taking place in February. And it will be UFC Fight Night 251, taking place on the 16th of February. And the main event will be Jared the Cannonier against Gregory Rodriguez. And the co-main event is Calvin Kattar against Yusuf Zalal. So the predictions I will make for that video would be in the next video following this. Okay, everyone, thank you for listening.